Coach, what's new today? Anything happen up there? What'd you guys work on today?
We finished with red zone, a couple drives in the red zone instead of just situations down, just let the ball go and whether we could get it in the score or kick some field goals, and then some more 2-minute work situations to finish practice. So,
have you had a competition day the last couple days?
We had one yesterday.
Offense one?
Obviously, the offense won.
So are they on a little bit of a roll? It seems like they won the last couple.
They won. We've had 3. They won 2. They lost the first one, and they won the last 2. So you could say that.
Did you put much stock in that?
I just want our kids to compete. I could care less who wins or loses or whatever. The one encouraging thing from a coaching standpoint is every competition's been really close, and it's come down to, one of the reasons we keep scores. It makes practice really competitive. So every drill gets competitive. So it's not the last 3 plays of this are kind of sloppy. It's they're for points, and it's the same thing in a game. A critical play in the second quarter could eventually be the difference in the outcome of the game, and we try to point that out to them when we get in and watch film with them as a group and as a team at night. Is what was the score of the game, and now let's look to it was a 3-point game. I can look at 3 individual plays that could have swung the momentum or swung the game itself. So that's how it is on any single play. You got a chance to really affect the outcome. So.
What's the biggest difference between quarterbacks at the beginning of fall camp to 2.5 weeks in?
They're 2 weeks older.
Is that it?
That's about it for me.
Are they making better decisions at this point?
Yeah, I think they're all. I mean, they're the whole group. And I don't. It may be you guys keep talking about the quarterback deal, but we got to make sure that there's 21 other guys that are doing the right thing too. So it's about watching them all improve. And I think overall as a team, we've improved since we got out here on August 6th, and they came in at a real good level from a conditioning standpoint and a mindset standpoint, and we're happy with where we are right now. So I think that both Brian and Marcus and Jake and Jeff, for the first time we ever really got a chance, because Jake didn't do much in the spring, and it's the first time we really get a chance to work with Jeff because he just got here. So I'm happy with all 4 of those guys in terms of their progress from where they started on the 6th to where they are today. So.
I know you said you use all 22 practices, but do you still see the 2-quarterback system as a possibility?
We're going to use all 22 practices before we make any determinations on any of that.
Chip, are you still doing camp things, or are you now getting into game?
No, we won't do any game stuff till Saturday. So this is still. We've had the same schedule since I took over, and nothing's changed. So we're pretty consistent. Nothing. We'll start introducing whoever our opponent was, whether it was Boise in the opener, and whether it was LSU, or whether it was Houston, or now this one's Arkansas State. We won't do any of that until Saturday. So that'll be our first game practice.
Any impressions of Colt since he put the pads on?
Yeah, he's kind of what you expected. He's a big physical kid. He gets a little bit of push at the point of attack. We got a little bit more size there, I think, with guys like Colt and Koa. A little bit bigger at the point of attack, and then you have the young freshman in there, but doing some nice things, really sharp in terms of assignments and things like that. A little bit behind because he missed the first couple of days of practice compared to those other guys, I would say, but catching up pretty quick. So,
how many tight ends would you like to travel and dress?
That depends on where they fit in special teams. So, and that's a decision when we finally get to it. And the fortunate thing for us, we don't have to have a travel roster till game 5 because we're home for 4. And then we get into the league rules of 70. So that kind of will sort it. I believe that'll sort itself out. You'll have a couple injuries maybe at that point in time, but it depends. We can dress 5 and travel 5 if all 5 are contributing on teams. And when we get to the tail end of that number, we sit there as a staff, how many teams and where is he on the depth chart from a special team standpoint. So it's not that we're going to play 5 tight end formations, but we're going to play. How do those guys contribute? And that's a position, tight ends, linebackers, DBs, wideouts are really huge contributors on the special teams for us.
Jennings has played some special teams. Can he help you on offense at this point?
Yeah, he can help us on offense, and he's obviously an integral special teams kid for us. Didn't play a whole heck of a lot. It wasn't in the rotation on the defensive line last year, but was traveled to every game because he was in the rotation in the special teams. And he's a prime example of a kid that last year was maybe not in the rotation at their position, but when we get to the back end of how many guys we're going to travel, it's all those considerations are from the special teams.
Kirk Herbstreit's Herbie Awards are tonight, and he has 5 of your guys on the list. Marcus Mariota, number 1 ahead of the curve. Michael Clay, best kept secret. Deion Jordan, and the Dirty Dozen. I know you guys have a relationship. Do you pay attention to that list?
Yeah. Herbie's a good friend, but I don't even know he had awards. So.
There's no.
He does? I'll probably miss it when he here. DVR. Is it a TV show? Or
starts at 4.
Starts at 4?
Yeah, Mariota
we'll be in meetings.
Yeah, Mariota's the number 1 ahead of the curve. Didn't have Brian on that list. Can we read into that?
Yeah, actually, Herbie is actually going to set the depth chart for us. So, when we put it out on Friday, I'm going to call him first and find out who we should be playing and shouldn't be playing. So.
Okay. Is that your schedule, Coach, on Friday?
Our schedule we'll start with a conference call with Coach Herb Street, figure out where he is, and then once he tells us which direction we're going, then we'll go from there.
Do you have a sense and a feeling this far into camp that you can have the kind of depth
You got to shave, John.
No, the first game. The first game.
You don't have an excuse. It's not like you're here at 6 every day.
Lost my razor. No, you get the kind of depth you'd hope to have going into the season in all positions.
I have no idea. I mean, until you really get in your first game, you're going to say, yeah, I feel real good about that kid. And then he gets in the game and gets run over 3 times, and you're like, well, I don't feel so good about that kid. So, I think from how many kids have practiced, the health of this team right now, I'm real excited about it. But there's still, again, there's youth on this football team. There's 65 freshmen and sophomores. So, a lot of those kids, especially the kids that redshirted and have never been in a game, you still don't know what you're going to have. You don't know what you're going to have with Tyler Johnstone or, some of the young receivers or some of the young tight ends. You're not sure until you actually get them into some game situations. But I'm pleased with where they are so far. So.
Did you start to wind camp? Are there situations where that you might want to see more improvement or may want to work on more as you get into the 4th week?
No, we've got the same schedule, and we've never changed since I took over. We map out our entire camp schedule. We know exactly how many periods we're doing this, how many reps we're getting of this, and whatnot. And that's done way in advance so that you're not, you don't have time as a coaching staff to sit down during the day and say, hey, tomorrow's practice, let's make it this. I mean, our schedule has been set for a long, long time, and there's a reason for that. That's why we spend a lot of time in the off-season making sure we hammer that out. And it's really based on the percentages of how many times were we in 3rd and long last year. Well, we were in 3rd and long 13% of the time, then 13% of our preseason camp has to be dedicated to that. So it's a planning standpoint. We've all had all that stuff done for a while now, and it's just a matter of going out and executing it. And then if it doesn't go the way you wanted, then you got to get in on film and teach it and coach it up and all the other things. But you get caught up too much, I think, when you look at practice every day and say, hey, that didn't go well, let's do it again. We do it again. Well, then you end up shortchanging another position.